Imagine this, it's 2 a.m., and you're walking down a narrow alley in an ancient neighborhood of Seoul. The neon lights from the shops above start to flicker out, and the streets are becoming unnervingly quiet. You hear the soft sound of footsteps, only they're not yours. You look over your shoulder, and for a moment, you catch a glimpse of something. Of someone. A figure standing too still, too quiet, too perfect. By the time you blink, it's gone. But you swear you heard its footsteps and felt its presence, cold and unnerving, just behind you. This isn't just a story, this is a warning. A warning for a world where the line between life and death blurs, where the past refuses to stay buried, and where the supernatural waits just beyond the veil. South Korea is a country where the line between the living and the dead fades into nothingness. The culture here is steeped in superstitions, many of which trace back to Korean shamanism, known as Muism, which flourished during the Joseon dynasty. These beliefs are not just ancient traditions. Even today, they shape everyday life. Writing names in red ink is seen as a death omen, a relic of an old practice that comes from China, where execution orders were written in red. Dreaming of pigs is said to bring fortune, and it is believed up to a point that some people here even buy lottery tickets after such dreams. And like many other Asian countries, the number 4, which sounds like the word death, is avoided, much like the number 13 in Western cultures. Even in modern Seoul, these superstitions persist, and in Korean horror movies, you will find a lot of it. The movies they produce here are among the most unsettling in the world, blending folklore, trauma and psychological terror. Films like The Wailing, A Tale of Two Sisters, and Ganjian Haunted Asylum do not simply aim to scare. They disturb. They linger. They stay with you for weeks after you've watched them. Maybe it has to do with the country's painful history, wars, invasions, and suffering, that has left an imprint on the land, and on the people. Horror in Korea is not just fiction. It is a reflection of real fear. Because in Korea, unseen forces still hold power. Korean supernatural beings fall into 3 categories: Mindam, Shinhwa, and Jeonseul. Most of Korea's spectral entities are drawn from 2 realms, Mindam, the folklore, and Shinhwa, the myths. The word Shin itself translates to spirits, ghosts, and all that lurks beyond our world. But among these restless souls, a few are more feared than others. In Korean mythology, Jeosung Saja, the Grim Reaper, plays an essential role in escorting souls to the afterlife. Unlike the Western Grim Reaper, who is often depicted as a skeletal figure in a hooded cloak, the Jeosung Saja is more of an ethereal guide, ushering souls into the underworld. There is no escape from the Jeosung Saja's reach, and once you're marked by death, there's no turning back. At the helm of this underworld is Yomna, the ruler of the afterlife. Yomna is responsible for judging the souls of the dead, weighing their deeds and determining their fate in the afterlife. He's often depicted with terrifying, intense features, surrounded by flames or sitting on a throne made of skulls. Those who try to escape their judgment or refuse to leave the realm of the living, may incur the wrath of both Yomna and the Jeosung Saja. The fear of the Jeosung Saja is so deeply ingrained in Korean culture, that it is believed the souls of the dead wander if they don't receive proper burial rites, or are wronged in their lifetime, sometimes returning to haunt the living. One of these ghosts among them is the Egg Ghost, a terrifying figure from South Korea with a smooth, featureless head shaped like an egg. This ghost represents profound loss of identity, life, and memory. It haunts the living, erasing memories and leaving only emptiness. The origins of the egg ghost vary. Some say it's the restless spirit of someone who died in emotional turmoil, while others believe it's a manifestation of forgotten souls. What's certain is its ability to consume memories, stripping victims of their past, connections, and sense of self. As memories fade, confusion sets in, and victims often experience a chilling sense of déjà vu, as if something important has vanished but can't be placed. Unlike more aggressive spirits, the egg ghost doesn't scream or confront its victims. Instead, it lingers in the background, like a forgotten thought, until it has consumed what it came for. Slowly, it erases memories, making people forget names, events, and even the passage of time. In more extreme cases, it's said to alter written records, making it seem as if a person never existed at all. Entire families or individuals may vanish without a trace, leaving behind only an eerie sense of loss. The egg ghost is a haunting reminder of the fragility of memory. In a digital world where memories can be lost with a click, its legend emphasizes how easily identities and histories can disappear. Victims may experience strange phenomena, forgotten times, unfamiliar faces, or altered memories, leading to an overwhelming sense of isolation. The egg ghost endures as a chilling reminder of what can happen when we are forgotten. Besides the memory-erasing terror of the egg ghost, another chilling spirit haunts South Korea, the Kong Kong ghost. Unlike the egg ghost, who consumes memories, the Kong Kong ghost brings fear with her twisted form and eerie hops. Her name comes from the rhythmic, Kong Kong, sound she makes, a noise that strikes terror into those who hear it. To understand her curse, one must first hear the tragic story of the student she once was. The Kong Kong ghost is the vengeful spirit of a high school girl who was driven mad by the pressure of always being second best. Two girls, fiercely competing for the top spot in their class, know that only one can secure a future at the best university. Overcome with jealousy, the second best student pushes the top student off the rooftop, causing her death. The tragedy is dismissed as a suicide, and the now number one student seems to get away with it. But the guilt of her actions soon returns in the form of the Kong Kong ghost. Transformed into a monstrous spirit, the girl now hops unnaturally, her body twisted and her face frozen in an eerie, upside-down expression, expressing the way she fell from the building. The Kong Kong sound follows her every movement, growing closer until she claims her victim. Unlike other spirits, she doesn't chase, she simply follows. Her presence is marked by the constant noise of her hops. Once you hear it, there's no escape. The Kong Kong ghost is a haunting reminder of the pressure to always be the best and the deadly consequences of letting the drive turn to violence. Her story reflects the dark side of competition. Once you hear her, you cannot escape. After encountering spirits like the egg ghost and the Kong Kong ghost, it becomes clear that these otherworldly forces can drive you to madness. The terror lingers, distorting your mind, and when it snaps, you may end up in places like Ganjiam Psychiatric Hospital, where reality and insanity are blurred. Ganjiam Psychiatric Hospital, now abandoned, was once a functioning psychiatric institution. Over the years, rumors of mistreatment, tragic deaths, and mysterious experiments surrounded it. As the hospital fell into ruin, it became infamous, attracting urban explorers and paranormal enthusiasts. Many claim to hear strange noises, see ghostly figures, or feel an overwhelming sense of dread that seems to seep from the very walls. The hospital's dark history ties not only to physical suffering, but to psychological torment, with some saying that a visit to Ganjiam can warp your mind, causing hallucinations and a sense of losing control. The building's eerie silence amplifies the fear, and the longer you stay, the more your perception of reality becomes distorted. The legend of Ganjiam was immortalized in the 2018 Korean horror film Ganjiam, Haunted Asylum. The film follows a group of people who enter the abandoned hospital to document supernatural events, but soon their minds begin to unravel. While fictionalized, the film captures the essence of Ganjiam's terrifying atmosphere, where the supernatural and mental collapse intertwine. Today, Ganjiam stands as a grim reminder of the fine line between sanity and madness. The hospital isn't just a place where ghosts linger, it's a place where fear consumes your mind. Once you enter, you may never fully escape the grip of its haunting presence. Ganjiam Psychiatric Hospital is not the only haunted place in South Korea. In fact, there are many more, each with its own dark history. One such place is the Jaro motorway, a foggy stretch of road in Gyeonggi province, near the North Korean border. It's here that a chilling ghostly figure appears, one that leaves a lasting, terrifying impression. This ghost, a woman draped in a long coat, is often seen with what seems like dark sunglasses. But upon closer look, you'll realize her eyes are hollow voids, dark and empty, absorbing all light around them. Her appearance has puzzled and terrified those who've encountered her. Her story gained traction in 2007, when a medium on a TV show uncovered her tragic story. The woman, in her 20s, was strangled to death on this very road. Her restless spirit now haunts it, searching for answers, or perhaps vengeance. Driving along the motorway at night, the thick fog reduces everything to a haunting silence. Some claim to see her in the rearview mirror, her dark eyes fixed on them. Once she's noticed you, there's no escape from her gaze. The closer you get, the more you feel her presence, cold, suffocating, and inevitable. With its eerie fog and proximity to North Korea, the Jaro motorway remains a place where the living and the dead are separated only by a thin veil, a constant reminder that some roads are never truly empty. After exploring the eerie presence on Jaro motorway, it's clear that some spirits are tied to the land, others to the forces of nature. Just as roads and buildings can hold restless souls, so too can the waters that surround us. In the depths of these waters, a terrifying spirit stirs, Mulgwishin, the water ghost. Unlike the ghosts tied to land, Mulgwishin is bound to the waters, forever lingering in rivers, lakes, and seas. In Korean folklore, water is not just an element, it's a gateway between the living and the dead. This makes the water ghost especially terrifying, as she can cross between worlds, haunting those who encounter her. Her origins are tragic, often the spirit of a woman who drowned, either through betrayal, grief, or misfortune. Just like the ghost on Jaro motorway, her eyes are described as dark voids, reflecting the endless depths of the water that consumed her. Mulgwishin is tied to several famous sites in Korea. Near the Han River in Seoul, legends say you can hear her cries or see her figure rising from the water. In rural areas, people report a sense of being watched, and some even claim to hear strange voices. These sites are considered gateways where the spirit can cross over, and many believe that encountering her means you will never escape her grasp. Following the haunting presence of the water ghost, we now turn to another chilling category of spirits in Korean folklore, baby ghosts and child ghosts. These spirits embody the fears of untimely death and the loss of innocence. Baby ghosts are the restless souls of infants who passed away too soon, often heard crying in the dead of night. These spirits are typically female, reflecting the deep sorrow and fragility associated with the death of a child. In modern horror films like The Doll, the presence of a baby ghost evokes both sadness and terror, symbolizing unfulfilled lives and the grief that lingers. On the darker side, child ghosts are more vengeful, often the spirits of children who met violent or unjust deaths. They are usually male, known as dongja, reflecting the aggressive nature of their tragic ends. Dongja ghosts are known for seeking revenge, as seen in films like The Wailing, where their anger and violent deaths manifest as eerie hauntings. Both baby ghosts and child ghosts remain prominent in Korean media, from movies to books to TV dramas. These spirits serve as powerful reminders of the fragility of life, unresolved grief, and the darkness that can follow premature death. After exploring the tragic spirits of baby and child ghosts, we're reminded of the role age plays in the supernatural world. While young souls are lost too soon, spirits like the Hong Kong grandma show that age can also create lingering hauntings. Unlike the innocent, vengeful youth, the Hong Kong grandma represents the weight of many years, a reminder that no matter how old, unresolved pain can turn anyone into a ghost. The Hong Kong Grandma is a chilling ghost story that originated from a tragic event in the late 1980s or early 1990s, during a period when airplane crashes were tragically frequent. One such crash claimed the life of an elderly woman, and her restless spirit became infamous. This ghost is particularly terrifying due to her immense speed. She can cover 100 meters in just 10 seconds. No matter how fast you run, it's said that you can never outrun her. But what makes her even more terrifying is the ritual before she kills. She will approach her victim and ask a series of questions. If you answer incorrectly, she will take your life. However, there is a chance for survival. If, at the end of your response, you add Hong Kong, you might be spared. Without it, death is inevitable. The Hong Kong Grandma has appeared in a variety of media over the years, continuing to haunt the public imagination. She was featured in Korean horror movies like The Ghost, where a similar spectral figure is seen asking questions before attacking. Her legend also found a place in the popular TV show, Korean Horror Story, where characters try desperately to avoid her wrath. Speculations about the nature of her curse vary. Some believe the ghost's rapid movement and need for the Hong Kong answer are tied to unresolved trauma from the crash. Others argue that her curse represents the fear of death and the consequences of not acknowledging it. Her role in popular culture underscores how ghosts are used not just for fear but as reflections of deeper anxieties about fate and the inevitability of death. After exploring the eerie legends of spirits like the Egg Ghost, the Kong Kong, and even the Hong Kong Grandma, South Korea's supernatural world only deepens. There are still many other chilling entities that haunt the living. The spirits of good-hearted women, whose gentle and benevolent nature can quickly turn deadly when betrayed or wronged. House ghosts, haunting homes with unsettling presences, leave an air of dread in the air, and lovesick ghosts, that dwell in the realm of unrequited love and longing. Each of these stories speaks to the enduring power of the past, how it lingers, how it calls, how it refuses to let go. In South Korea, ghosts are not only myths or stories, they are reflections of the unhealed wounds of the land, echoes of tragedies that continue to ripple through the generations. As we've seen tonight, these spirits represent much more than just fear. They are symbols of grief, vengeance, loss, and the complex emotions that shape the living and the dead alike. And though they may appear in many forms, whether it's the young, the old, the vengeful, or the tragic, they all carry with them the same message: the supernatural is never far away. In 1993, a TV commercial filmed deep in a shadowy Hong Kong forest, captured something terrifying on camera. The director wanted 6 children, 4 boys, and 2 girls, to dance around in the video. They shot the video and everything seemed fine. But back home, when the director reviewed the footage, he noticed an extra child, a 3rd girl in the background, right behind the last boy. A year later, the boy that was touched by the girl, tragically passed away. This commercial was banned from ever being aired again. No one wanted to face that ghostly presence staring back at them. Hong Kong is a city where the past and the present collide in unsettling ways. Where the dead never seem to stay buried, and where superstition bleeds into everyday life. Over here, more than 1,000 people disappear every year, never to be found, adding to the mysterious vibe of the place. To understand Hong Kong's ghost stories, you have to understand feng shui, the ancient art of balancing energy, or qi, in the environment. From skyscrapers to tiny apartments, every corner of this city is shaped by beliefs about good and bad energy. Take the famous Dragon Gates. Some of Hong Kong's tallest buildings have huge holes carved through their centers, not for design, but tradition. The legend says that powerful dragons live in the mountains surrounding the city. These dragon gates allow the dragons to fly through, on their way to the water for a drink. Block the dragon's path, and it's said you invite disaster, bad luck, financial ruin, or even mysterious deaths. This intertwining of belief and architecture creates an atmosphere where the supernatural feels close, and almost tangible. Hong Kong's unique cultural diversity, a fusion of Chinese traditions, colonial history, and global influences, shapes how its people relate to ghosts. Many families still honor ancestors with daily offerings, lighting incense to appease the spirits. Meanwhile, local cinema has played a huge role in fueling Hong Kong's ghost stories. Films like the legendary Mr. Vampire series blend horror with humor, reflecting the city's unique way of mixing fear with folklore. In Hong Kong, superstition isn't just old wives' tales, it lives in everyday life. From unlucky numbers to eerie encounters, tales of restless ghosts wandering Hong Kong streets are as common as the city's endless hustle. Here, the streets are full of neon lights, but its narrow alleys can become very dark. As night falls, shadows stretch long and a chill creeps in, especially in places locals choose to avoid. During the 7th lunar month, Ghost Month, these areas become even more forbidding, as the veil between the living and the dead starts disappearing. People leave offerings on streets and doorsteps, hoping to soothe restless spirits. And if you fail to respect these rituals, or wander into the wrong place at the wrong time, you might invite more than just bad luck. It is said you could encounter a ghost that follows you home. There's a stretch of highway in Hong Kong that drivers speak of in hushed tones, Tuen Mun Road. Built in the 1970s, this winding, elevated route connects the northern New Territories to Kowloon. It's fast, it's busy, and it has a reputation for something far darker than traffic jams. Locals say the road is cursed. One spirit in particular haunts it, the woman in red. She's described as pale, barefoot, wearing a traditional red dress, the color worn by those who die tragically or take their own lives in Chinese folklore, believed to return as vengeful spirits. Witnesses say she appears suddenly in the middle of the road, forcing drivers to swerve, and sometimes crash. Over the years, the death toll on Tuen Mun Road has climbed far higher than average. So much so that the Hong Kong government has repeatedly investigated the area. But despite upgrades, barriers, and lighting changes, the accidents continued, unexplained, and often fatal. Then in 1993, a photograph surfaced that shook the city. A speed camera mounted near the Castle Peak Road Sand Depot, just beside a particularly deadly stretch, captured something impossible. A series of glowing orange-red lights, and in the middle, the blurred silhouette of an elderly woman. The photo made the front page of the now-defunct Tin Tin Daily, sparking mass panic. The photo was sent to the Department of Transport by a reader, but officials gave no explanation. People began avoiding the road at night. Some say the woman was a victim of an earlier accident. Others believe she was a spirit conjured by decades of trauma and tragedy. But ask any long-distance driver in the New Territories, and they'll tell you, she's still there. Tuen Mun Road, notorious for its spectral encounters, leads travelers into the heart of Kowloon, a district once dominated by the infamous Kowloon Walled City. Once the most densely populated place on Earth, this anarchic enclave at its peak crammed over 50,000 people into a maze of stacked tenements, narrow alleys, and makeshift staircases. Sunlight barely reached the lower levels, and the air was thick with the scent of oil, incense, and decay. It was a city within a city, lawless, chaotic, and alive with secrets. In the late 1980s, Canadian photographer Greg Girard began documenting life within the Kowloon Walled City. His photographs, taken between 1986 and 1992, offer a haunting portrayal of the enclave's dense, interconnected structures and the lives of its residents.
We really wanted to show it as a functioning community, but it worked in ways that were so different than the rest of Hong Kong that we kind of wanted to get to the bottom of that. And most Hong Kong parents told their kids to avoid the place, and most people did.
Girard's work has been pivotal in preserving the memory of the walled city and has inspired various forms of media, including films and video games. The 2006 Hong Kong horror film Recycle features a nightmarish version of the walled city, complete with tortured souls from which the protagonist must flee. Kowloon walled city was demolished in 1994, and while the buildings may be gone, many believe that not everything left. Today, the site is a serene park. Yet visitors report sudden cold spots, seeing shadows, and hearing the sound of ghostly laughter, echoing through the trees. Some say the spirits of the forgotten people still wander here, trapped in the labyrinth that it once was. These experiences have been documented in local media and interviews. Additionally, photographers visiting the park have occasionally captured anomalies in their images, including light distortions and shadowy figures, which have been examined by experts. They were unable to give a clear explanation. The consistency and volume of reports suggest that something unique remains at the site, a subtle, enduring imprint of the walled city's complex history. Every year, over 1,000 people vanish from Hong Kong streets, many never to be found. While some disappearances have clear explanations, others remain baffling, shrouded in mystery and whispered fear. Between 2011 and 2015, the Hong Kong police received 24,543 missing person reports. While many were resolved, 133 cases remained under investigation as of January 2016. These unresolved cases contribute to the city's aura of mystery and have become fodder for local folklore, making the city a focal point for tales of the unexplained. The disappearances feed local whispers, stories of spirits claiming the unwary or shadows that lure people into forgotten corners of the city. Official investigations often reach dead ends, adding to the unresolved tension. In a city where tradition and modernity intertwine, the line between fact and folklore blurs, making these disappearances not just tragedies, but part of Hong Kong's living, breathing ghost story. One of Hong Kong's most persistent ghost stories comes from the City University of Hong Kong, specifically a bathroom tucked away in the yellow zone. For years, students have talked about a ghost haunting the ladies' restroom. Some students speculate that the spirit belongs to a female student who took her own life in the stall after failing her exams. Others claim it's the ghost of a male construction worker, killed in a tragic accident while the building was being built, forever doomed to wander the site where he drew his last breath. The story took a stranger twist when the university allegedly converted the ladies' bathroom into a men's, not for practical reasons, but spiritual ones. According to traditional Chinese beliefs, adding more yang qi, or masculine energy, was a way to drive out the dark lingering yin forces, said to attract spirits. And while some skeptics chalk it all up to superstition, or perhaps just an imaginative explanation for why the men's bathrooms lack bidets, the legend refuses to die. Ask any student who's had to use that restroom late at night. They'll tell you, sometimes, you're not alone. Tucked deep in the lush hills of the New Territories, Bride's Pool is a picturesque waterfall, a popular spot for hikers, couples, and photographers. But behind its beauty lies a chilling legend that refuses to fade. It is said that many years ago, a bride was being carried in a traditional sedan chair on her wedding day. As she and her party crossed a narrow, slippery path near the waterfall, one of her porters lost his footing. The sedan tipped, and the bride plunged into the pool below. She drowned before anyone could save her. Some say she never left. Visitors have reported hearing soft sobbing near the falls, especially at night. Others claim to have seen a figure in red standing at the water's edge, with her face hidden beneath a bridal veil. Step too close, and the air becomes ice cold. But the curse, it seems, extends beyond the forest trail. Just a few minutes away, Bride's Pool Road has become one of Hong Kong's most notorious accident black spots. Since 2004, at least 12 people have died in tragic crashes on a single, winding stretch of the road. Over 100 traffic accidents have occurred here, many unexplained. Some blame the sharp turns and poor visibility. Police reports often cite reckless driving, calling the road a magnet for daredevils speeding through the countryside. But locals believe something darker is going on. Some say the ghost of the drowned bride wanders the road now, confused and angry, still waiting for a wedding that never happened. Before Hong Kong became a global financial hub, it was a British colony, and a battlefield. From colonial opulence, to wartime horrors under Japanese occupation, these eras left scars, and sometimes, spirits. Victoria Peak once belonged to the British elite, a mountaintop retreat of mansions, cigars, and servants. Today, it's luxury apartments and lookouts, but it is said that sometimes you can hear music playing from empty rooms. They say the dead up here are quiet, but they never left. In Wan Chai stands a building named Nam Ku Terrace, a red brick mansion with a blood-stained past. Built in the early 1900s, it became a Japanese military brothel during World War II. Women were held here against their will. Many never made it out. Now abandoned, the house pulses with fear. Visitors report screams, cold gusts, and ghostly figures staring from broken windows. One infamous incident in 2003 involved schoolgirls who snuck in for a thrill, and left in hysterics. The 2 girls were hospitalized. The people speculated that the girls were followed by the ghosts. Nowadays the house is still fenced off. Locals cross the street to avoid it. Some wounds, it seems, refuse to heal. In back rooms of temples, and quiet suburban flats, modern Hong Kong still wrestles with ancient fears, not just of ghosts, but of possession. Exorcisms here aren't the stuff of headlines, but they're talked about, and performed discreetly, and often never spoken of again. But they happen more often than you'd think. Taoist priests and Buddhist monks are still called to drive out spirits, with chants, talismans, and fire. Sometimes it's peaceful. Other times, it ends in screams. In 2011, a 15-year-old girl in Kwun Tong attacked her family, claiming a ghost had entered her during Ghost Month. Neighbors reported hearing strange chanting and cries echoing through the building. Within days, the family left the apartment. It stayed empty for years. This wasn't an isolated case. Across Hong Kong, stories emerge of people speaking in strange voices, convulsing, or falling ill for no medical reason, only to recover after a spiritual ritual. Hong Kong's traditions keep the spirit world close. Every year on Chung Chau Island, the Bun Festival draws crowds with its towering towers of steamed buns. But beneath the festive cheer lies a serious ritual, meant to appease restless souls. According to local legend, the festival began to calm a plague spirit that once haunted the island. During the celebrations, people light incense, offer prayers, and carefully follow rituals to keep evil spirits at bay. Visitors say that when the festival is over, a hush falls on the island. It seems like the spirits have been pleased. At least for now. Hong Kong is a city of paradox, where skyscrapers reach the clouds, but ghosts walk in the alleys below. Where ancient rituals live alongside modern hustle. Here, history never truly sleeps. The colonial ghosts linger in opulent heights. The drowned bride weeps by hidden waterfalls. And the spirits of tradition keep watch during the festivals. This city's heartbeat is entwined with stories of the unseen, the unexplained, where the living and the dead coexist in a delicate balance. In Hong Kong, the past isn't just remembered. It's alive. And sometimes, it's watching. There are places in Cambodia where the jungle isn't just alive, it's haunted. The trees, the earth, and even the air, feels like it's watching you. With every step, the weight of the jungle grows heavier, like something is just beyond your sight, following you through the bushes, and it waits patiently, for the right moment to strike. The deeper you go, the more you can feel it, something lurking, unseen, and just out of reach. These are the jungle ghosts. Silent and deadly. They haunt the deepest parts of the forest, waiting for the moment when the living wander too far. Some say they appear as twisted shadows, while others claim they are the creatures of the jungle itself. These are not just ghosts. They control the very earth and trees, luring travelers off their path, and leading them deeper into the wilderness, where the jungle seems to twist and bend reality. Their origins trace back to Cambodia's darkest moments, from ancient wars to the brutal Khmer Rouge era. Many believe those who died in the jungle became part of the land. Their souls forever adrift in the jungle, lost and waiting to be discovered. As you step out of the jungle's shadow, Cambodia reveals itself, a country where mysteries linger in the air, and where the past is intertwined with the present. It's a place where the ancient and modern collide, where the red mist that rolls across the landscape isn't just fog, but believed to be a manifestation of the spirits of the land, rising from the earth, as if the very soil is alive with memories of those who came before. Amidst the hustle of cities and the tuk-tuks that rush through the streets, the mystical side of Cambodia still thrives. In every corner, and in every ritual, the spirit world is just a breath away. Sak Yant tattoos, sacred symbols inked into the skin, are believed to protect the wearer from harm by channeling the powers of spirits. The ink isn't just art, it's a bond with the unseen forces that watch over the land. But beneath this rich tapestry of traditions, lies a dark chapter of Cambodia's history, one so dark that it tried to erase the past entirely. A chapter that began in 1975, when the country was forced into what is known as Year Zero, which I will explain to you later. In a land where the history's shadows still stretch long, the red mist, the sacred tattoos, and the stories passed down through generations aren't just part of the landscape, they are living reminders that in Cambodia, the spirits of the past are never far behind. Among the spirits that roam Cambodia's wilds, there are some whose presence is felt as powerfully as the land itself. In a country where elephants symbolize strength, wisdom, and a sacred connection to nature, it's no surprise that the jungle holds ghosts in their shape. For centuries, elephants have been revered in Cambodia, protectors, symbols of power, and mighty forces in battle. The war elephants of the Angkor Empire once trampled across these lands, carrying kings and warriors into battle, with their footsteps shaking the ground. But what happens when these majestic creatures' spirits refuse to rest? Deep in the forest, their ghostly forms wander. It is said that the sound of their trumpets can sometimes be heard through the trees, a haunting reminder that some spirits never leave. These are the Dam Ray Khmak, the ghost elephants of Cambodia. These are the souls of elephants that died violently, whether in ancient wars or during the bloodshed of the Khmer Rouge era. Bound to the jungle, they roam as guardians or avengers, luring travelers deeper into the wild. The heavy sound of their footsteps grows closer, but when you turn, there's nothing there. Some say the Dam Ray Khmak are protectors of the land. Others believe they are vengeful, restless, and filled with rage. The earth still trembles beneath their unseen weight, a chilling reminder that in Cambodia's jungles, the past is never truly gone. In Cambodia's haunted jungles, elephants are not the only spirits that stir. Beneath the trees, in the rivers, and hidden among the shadows, older forces wait, more ancient, and more primal. Among them are the crocodile and serpent ghosts, creatures of water and earth, tied to legends that stretch back beyond written history. In Cambodian lore, crocodiles are more than just beasts. They are shapeshifters, guardians, and sometimes, cursed souls doomed to roam the waterways forever. Some stories speak of warriors who, through dark rituals, transformed into crocodiles to gain strength, only to be trapped between worlds when they died. Serpents, too, are sacred and feared. The Naga, great serpent spirits, are said to dwell in the rivers and lakes, guarding treasures, sacred sites, and ancient secrets. But when angered, their spirits can bring floods, storms, and madness. To this day, there are those who believe that certain rivers, ponds, and stretches of jungle are cursed, places where crocodile and serpent ghosts still lurk, waiting to drag the unwary into the depths. Beyond the tangled roots and shadowed rivers of Cambodia, another kind of spirit lingers, not in the forests, but in stone. Across the country, ancient statues stand guard over forgotten temples and sacred grounds. Time has worn their faces, moss covers their bodies, but something deeper clings to them. There are stories of statues that shift when no one is watching, whose eyes seem to move, and whose silent mouths almost seem to whisper. Some say the stone is alive. That within these crumbling forms, ghosts are trapped, neither fully dead nor fully living. Travelers have sworn they've seen them change positions overnight, or found new footprints in the dust where no human could have walked. In fact, some researchers have documented these strange occurrences in the temples of Angkor, where, on rare occasions, statues are said to be found in different positions than they were the day before. Some researchers say that the strange movements of these statues can be explained by natural erosion or the play of light and shadow. Yet, despite these explanations, travelers still report seeing the statues shift or feeling their presence draw near. In the end, it's not just the myths of Cambodia that endure, it's the question, what if these statues aren't just lifeless stone after all? Time has worn down the temples, and vines have swallowed their walls, but not all who dwelled here moved on. They say that the monks who once filled these halls with prayer are still here, their spirits trapped between worlds, watching from the shadows of the crumbling stone. Across Cambodia, especially around the ruins of Angkor and remote mountain monasteries, there are countless reports of strange encounters. Locals and travelers have spoken of glimpsing figures in saffron robes, moving silently through the temples. These are monks. Monks that vanish when approached, or that are seen praying among the rubble at dusk. One well-known story comes from the ruins of Ta Prohm Temple, where a group of tourists swore they heard the sound of chanting, deep inside the overgrown corridors. Of course, this sparked their interest. And they decided to follow the voices, but what they found wasn't what they expected. They found an empty shrine, with its stone floor covered in fresh offerings of lotus flowers and incense. The weird thing was, that they knew that no person had entered or left that part of the ruins all day. Some believe these monks, just like the elephant ghosts, are guardians. Others speculate that during times of war and invasion, monks who tried to defend their sacred grounds were slaughtered, and it is their restless souls who still walk the temple halls. Whatever the truth may be, in the silent ruins of Cambodia's ancient temples, it is said and even felt, that you are never truly alone. As we unravel Cambodia's haunted past, our path leads us even higher, to a place where the living have long been gone, and only the mist remains. High in Cambodia's Kampot province, where the jungle meets the clouds, lies Bakar Hill Station, a forgotten French resort, that turned into a ghost town. This is said to be one of Cambodia's most haunted places. Built in the 1920s, it was once a retreat for the French elite, that offered amazing views and fresh mountain air. But over the years, it became quiet, and by the 1940s, it was fully abandoned, overtaken by both time and the jungle. Despite its abandonment, the hill station still holds an eerie presence. Visitors often report strange sights and sounds. The most famous story is about a ghost, named the Lady in White, a French woman who died in a tragic fall. Locals say her spirit still wanders the mist-covered paths. In the resort lays the Bakar Palace Hotel, and this place is particularly haunting. Once a grand establishment, it now stands in ruins. Guests who stay here sometimes hear piano music playing in the empty ballroom, and shadows are said to have their own life. The cold, still air, and feeling the presence of something unseen, makes it easy to believe that the spirits of those who lived and died here, never truly left. Mass graves were found nearby the station, and many believe the souls of those who suffered and perished here still haunt the mountain. There is one event that truly shaped Cambodia's spirit world, an event so dark it tried to erase history itself. In 1975, Cambodia fell under the control of the Khmer Rouge, a brutal communist regime led by Pol Pot. During the next almost 4 years, places like the Bakar Hill Station were used by the Khmer Rouge, because they were perfect for guerrilla fighters. Their vision was to transform the country into a rural, classless society, but at a horrific cost. In less than 4 years, nearly 2 million people, a quarter of Cambodia's population died from execution, starvation, disease, and forced labor. At this time, Cambodia became a graveyard. At other sites in the country, like for instance Choang Ek, near Phnom Penh, over 1 million people were executed and buried in mass graves, victims of a regime that sought to erase the past by destroying its own people. They wanted to wipe out everything that had come before: culture, education, religion, and even basic memories of the old society. They believed that by eliminating anyone connected to the old ways, the educated, the religious, and the urban, they could rebuild Cambodia from year zero, as if history itself had never existed. After the fall of the Khmer Rouge in 1979, Cambodia was left in ruins. The country was shattered, its people broken, and its history nearly erased. The Cambodian government, with the support of international organizations, faced the enormous challenge of rebuilding a nation that had been reduced to a graveyard. The first steps toward recovery were focused on rebuilding basic infrastructure and addressing the immediate needs of the population. However, the scars left by the regime were not just physical. Survivors had to contend with the psychological trauma of losing family members, witnessing atrocities, and living in fear for years. Memorials, like the killing fields, were set up as reminders of the horrors endured, not just as a tribute to the dead, but as a way for the living to process and understand the dark chapter in their history. Today, the killing fields are silent, but the earth itself still seems to hum with grief. A lot of bone fragments and bits of clothing surface from the soil, mostly after heavy rains. A lot of visitors report feeling an unbearable heaviness descend on them, some even speak of soft crying sounds, or some report the feeling of cold hands touching them. A lot of people get overwhelmed with a crushing sadness that lingers for hours after leaving, as if something unseen has followed them home. At Choang Ek stands a stupa. Normally, a stupa is a domed hemispherical structure containing several types of sacred relics. Over here it is filled with thousands of skulls. It is a silent testament to those lost. It is said that at night, the stupa glows faintly, lit not by candles, but by something older and more sorrowful, the restless spirits of a generation that never got to tell its story. Here, the ghosts are not myths, nor are they legends. They are memories, etched into the very bones of the land, impossible to ignore, and impossible to forget. The jungle claimed the temples. The mountains kept their dead. Now, the rivers carry what remains. On the rivers in Cambodia, silent boats drift between worlds, their hulls bearing the whispers of lost souls. These ghost boats are not just folklore. For centuries, they have been part of the living history of Cambodia's waterways, and they are often seen on the waters of Tunnel Sap Lake or the Mekong River, particularly in the early morning mist. Many who've seen the boats claim to hear the creaks of wood, and splashes of unseen oars cutting through the water. But when they draw closer, the boats vanish, leaving nothing behind but the eerie calm of the river. There are theories that the ghost boats could be related to the idea of spirit vessels, commonly seen in Southeast Asian cultures. The belief is that these boats, once used to carry the dead, could also be used to transport their spirits, forever drifting through the country's rivers in search of peace. However, not all explanations are rooted in the supernatural. Some researchers suggest the phenomenon may be caused by optical illusions, where mist, water currents, and the dense fog of the region create the illusion of boats that seem to glide mysteriously across the river. Despite these explanations, many locals still view the ghost boats as more than just natural occurrences. In a land with a history so deeply intertwined with tragedy and loss, the river is seen as a place where the past refuses to fade. Whether a result of environmental factors or something deeper, the boats still are a symbol of the spirits that linger in Cambodia and its waters. The belief in spirits in Cambodia is deeply woven into the fabric of daily life. Rituals to honor the dead, offerings at roadside shrines, and the protection of homes with sacred symbols and charms are all part of this connection. But what keeps these beliefs alive, especially after the trauma of the Khmer Rouge? The mass suffering, loss of loved ones, and the destruction of culture during the regime left deep psychological scars. Survivors often speak of a lingering sense of unfinished business, with both the spirits of the dead and the living haunted by the past. In many ways, belief in spirits becomes a way to cope with the incomprehensible, a means to keep the lost alive, communicate with the departed, and make sense of a broken world. In the modern world, this ancient connection to the spirit world remains as strong as ever. Cambodia is a land where the living and the dead coexist in delicate harmony, and the spirit world is never far behind. From the Khmer Rouge's haunting legacy to the tales of mist-covered forests, the presence of ghosts and the supernatural is felt everywhere. It's a reminder that in Cambodia, the line between the living and the dead is often as thin as a shadow, and the spirits that dwell here are a part of the land's very soul. If you ever find yourself in the mist-covered jungles or standing by the silent, haunting rivers of Cambodia, remember that the past is never far behind. Perhaps, just as the boats drift through the fog, so too do the spirits drift through time, quietly, endlessly, and always waiting for the right moment to make their presence known. Tokyo, the city that never really sleeps. It rests beneath neon halos and the steady hum of vending machines, breathing quietly between the last train and the first light. But even then, some places refuse to close their eyes. Golden Gai is one of those places. Tucked away in Shinjuku, this maze of narrow alleys is famous for its tiny bars, many barely big enough to hold 6 people. Tourists flock here for the charm, but the locals know there's more beneath the surface. Down one of these alleys is a ramen shop. Small, humble, and easy to miss. But people talk about it. The story goes around that this place is haunted. It all started when a new owner took over. First he heard bowls clatter after closing. Then he saw a figure in the kitchen window, a woman with long hair, standing still, looking him dead in the eyes, and poof, she was gone. Customers have felt it too. A sudden chill. A weird shadow that doesn't move. One man swears a hand touched the counter beside him, when no one else was there. The shop was built on the remains of a house. The chef's wife died there, obsessed with the recipe, unwilling to let go. Now, the owner leaves a bowl out at night. A quiet offering. Just in case. Maybe it is because of the past that in this ramen shop, stories are part of the atmosphere. They rise with the steam, passed between regulars, talked about over empty bowls when the night's gone quiet. Not all of the stories are believable, and not all of them are meant to be. But one story comes up more than once, about something strange that happens just a few blocks from here, deep inside Shinjuku Station. The details shift depending on who's telling it. But most versions agree on a few things: it's always late. It arrives on a line that no longer runs. And no one ever sees it coming. They call it the ghost train. Some say a pale woman waits on the platform, standing still, and dressed like she stepped out of another decade. She doesn't move, or doesn't speak. It is said she just waits for someone to follow. A former station employee, long retired, once claimed he saw her every week, for nearly a year. Same platform. Same hour. And every time he approached, she vanished. A few years ago, a night worker disappeared during his shift. Last seen heading toward one of the lower platforms. The surveillance footage glitched. All they recovered was a voicemail, static, and something that sounded like breathing. No one ever found him. Now, late at night, the station still runs. But some staff avoid that side of the tracks. And a few commuters say they've felt it, a pressure in the air, a presence that doesn't belong. Most people brush it off. Tokyo's full of strange corners. But in places like this, stories have a way of becoming part of the structure. You hear them. You repeat them. And eventually, you start to wonder which ones are still unfolding. In Tokyo, a property's past can haunt it just as much as any ghost story. These, jikobukan, or stigmatized properties, carry a heavy history, a death by suicide, a violent crime, or sometimes just a mysterious disappearance. Because of these events, the homes become difficult to sell or rent. In many cases, landlords and real estate agents must disclose these tragedies to potential tenants, a rare glimpse into the darker side of Japan's real estate market. But the stigma goes beyond paperwork. Locals often believe these places are haunted by lingering spirits, restless souls who cannot move on, trapped by their final moments. One property on oshimaland.com, a site mapping thousands of these places across Tokyo, was reportedly abandoned after tenants fled, terrified by nightly footsteps pacing the hallways. In another case, a building known as the Crying Mansion earned its name after neighbors reported hearing muffled sobbing echo through the walls for months, but no source was ever found. These stories blend the psychological and the supernatural, creating a unique urban folklore deeply rooted in Tokyo's rapid modernization. It's a reminder that even in the most bustling, high-tech cities, the shadows of the past can stretch long and far. To understand why some places in Tokyo feel heavy with unease, you have to look deeper, beyond the city's neon lights and endless skyscrapers. Beneath Tokyo's vibrant streets are hidden histories, sites stained with punishment, pain, and death. Two of the most infamous are Suzugamori and Kozakapra, execution grounds where thousands met their fate during the Edo period. Between the 17th and 19th centuries, it's estimated that over 100,000 people were executed here, criminals, rebels, and those condemned by the shogunate. Locals long believed that the earth here absorbed the sorrow and anger of those who died violently, curses that linger even centuries later. Even today, people report strange sounds in the wind, sudden chills, and shadowy figures near these sites. Back in the quiet ramen shop, the steam from the bowls swirls thick in the dim light. As customers come and go, another story comes up, one whispered over warm broth and shared memories. It's a story older than the city itself, yet somehow alive in Tokyo's streets today. A tale of betrayal, murder, and a ghost whose sorrow never fades. They call her Oiwa. Her story begins over 200 years ago, in Edo, the city that would become modern Tokyo. Oiwa was a young woman betrayed by the man she loved, Tamiya Iman, a samurai consumed by greed and jealousy. Poisoned, disfigured, and left to die, her final moments were so extremely sorrowful, that it is said that she refused to rest. From her pain grew a ghost story that would haunt Japan for centuries, Yotsuya Kaiten. Written as a kabuki play in 1825, it has been adapted for film over 30 times, each retelling fueling the legend of Oiwa's vengeful spirit. But the story doesn't end on stage. Actors who have played Oiwa speak of strange accidents, whispers backstage, and an unshakable feeling of being watched. Some say the role itself is cursed, a ghostly presence clinging to the tale of betrayal and revenge. Even today, Tokyo's theaters and film sets hold an uneasy respect for Oiwa's restless spirit. Her story is a reminder that in Tokyo, the past never fully fades, it lingers, waiting in the shadows, ready to rise again. Away from the main streets, Tokyo offers a different kind of accommodation, compact, efficient, and famously claustrophobic. Capsule hotels were born from necessity, a solution for the city's late-night commuters and travelers. Within the world of these cramped capsules, a lot of unsettling tales have taken root. Several guests have reported sudden chills in the middle of the night, shadows moving just beyond the edge of sight, and the eerie sensation that people in other capsules were whispering to them through the thin walls, even when no one was there. One traveler described their stay as particularly disturbing. It felt like a coffin, they wrote. The walls were too close, the air too still. Around 2 a.m., I started hearing odd, rhythmic noises, tapping, then what sounded like whispering. But when I slid the curtain open, the hallway was empty. The lights buzzed, but everything else was still. Too still. Even staff aren't immune to the strange atmosphere. A night receptionist once confided to a reporter. Sometimes, when the hotel is quiet and nearly empty, I hear footsteps pacing the halls. But when I get up to check, there's never anyone there. It's like the building remembers who stayed long ago. Back in the ramen shop, the stories keep flowing, like steam rising from a fresh bowl. Someone leans in, voice dropping as if the shadows might listen. "There's a place not far from here," he says, "where the darkness feels thicker, and the past is hard to leave behind." They speak of the Sendagaya Tunnel, a narrow, forgotten passage beneath Tokyo's surface, where footsteps echo, long after the last train has gone. The Sendagaya Tunnel is more than just a forgotten railway corridor, it's a place where time seems to fold in on itself. Built in the early 20th century, the tunnel once carried passengers and freight under Tokyo. Today, trains no longer run here, but the stories of the past are still around. Locals will warn you against wandering near the tunnel after dark. They say you can hear stuff, see weird flickering lights, and sometimes feel an oppressive weight, pressing down. But what makes Sendagaya especially chilling isn't just the tunnel itself, it's what lies nearby. The Victor Studio, an old recording studio with a storied past, stands just a few blocks away. Once a hub for music legends and artists, it's now a place rumored to be haunted by more than just memories. Musicians who worked late into the night tell tales of ghostly melodies drifting through empty halls, instruments tuning themselves, and glimpses of shadowy figures in the corners of their eyes. In 1979, singer Hiromi Iwasaki recorded the single Mangekyo in this studio. At around the 4-minute mark of the song, you can hear what sounds like a man groaning. It's a mystery how it ended up on the track. People speculate that they could be the spirits of forgotten artists, or perhaps the lingering sadness of those who once poured their souls into the music here. In the heart of Tokyo's modern chaos, there is an ancient spirit that is still roaming. Taro, the vengeful samurai, whose story has seeped into the city's corners. Though Taro's origins trace back to Japan's feudal past, his presence is felt deeply in Tokyo's urban folklore. Sites across the city, from quiet temples tucked between skyscrapers to shadowy alleyways, are said to be touched by his restless spirit. Taro embodies more than just fear, he represents a powerful Tokyo theme, the collision of history and modernity. As the city races forward, Taro's story reminds the people of the heavy past. He symbolizes honor betrayed, and debts unpaid, themes that resonate in a city where tradition and progress constantly intertwine. His influence lives on in Tokyo's pop culture too. From horror manga set in Shinjuku's backstreets, to eerie scenes in urban legends shared in izakayas. Taro remains a figure that bridges old samurai tales and contemporary ghost stories. Video games and films set in Tokyo often invoke his image. The perfect ghost caught between eras, stalking the city that never forgets. In Tokyo, where history layers beneath every concrete block and every flicker of neon, Taro is more than a ghost story, he is a spirit woven into the city's very fabric. A reminder that even in the brightest, busiest metropolis, the past lingers. As Tokyo's night deepens, the city lights become brighter, towers of glass and steel start to stand out against the dark sky. Among them, Sunshine 60 rises proudly in Ikebukuro, once the tallest skyscraper in Asia, a symbol of Japan's rapid growth and futuristic ambition. But beneath its surface, Sunshine 60 carries a different kind of energy, a lingering presence from the city's shadowed past. Built on the site of a former graveyard, some say the souls never quite left. Workers in the building have reported unexplained cold drafts sweeping through the upper floors, even on the hottest days. One office worker shared. "Sometimes, when everyone else has gone home, I hear footsteps pacing just outside my door. I check, but no one's there. On the highest floors, there's a chill that no air conditioner can explain." A security guard recalled. "Once, during a night shift, I saw a shadow moving past the windows. It was like a figure watching me from outside, but there's no balcony or ledge up there. When I called for backup, the cameras showed nothing. Legend holds that the restless spirits of those long buried beneath the site have etched their own mark on the tower. Sunshine 60's haunted reputation has inspired countless tales, making it a modern symbol of the city's tangled relationship with memory, progress, and the unseen. It's a place where Tokyo's ghosts don't hide in shadows or dark alleys, they dwell above the skyline, watching the city pulse beneath them. And as the night grows deeper, those whispers grow louder. Back in the quiet ramen shop, the steam still rises from the last bowls of the night. The chatter has faded, but the stories linger, like the scent of broth in the air, or the soft hum of a vending machine just outside, waiting for the next customer. As dawn begins to wash over Tokyo, the neon lights dim, and the city slowly shifts into the morning. The vending machines fall silent, the early morning salarymen shuffle towards subway entrances, clutching their briefcases, while shopkeepers lift their shutters, and prepare for the day ahead. But the tales don't vanish. They're woven into the fabric of the city, in the alleys, the tunnels, the skyscrapers, and the quiet rooms where forgotten ghosts wait. Tokyo never truly sleeps. It dozes, breathes, and remembers. And maybe that's why its stories stay alive, passed quietly, between strangers over bowls of ramen. You've finally done it, you bought a new home, tucked away in a quiet suburb, surrounded by beautiful green hills and distant jungle. The listing was suspiciously cheap, but you brushed it off. A fixer-upper, they said. Some local history, nothing to worry about. But now, it's 3 in the morning, and you're wide awake again. The sound of soft footsteps creaks above your ceiling, even though you live alone. The mirrors in the bathroom are fogged up, though there's no heat running. And every night, like clockwork, the smell returns. Frangipani. Sweet, rotting, and familiar. It's the flower of death. All of a sudden your phone buzzes, you check your phone, and you've received a message from an unknown number. She's back. You just bought a house in Malaysia. And it's haunted. Malaysia is a land of crossroads. Not just in trade or people, but in the unseen. Here, Malay shamans perform jungle rituals, while Chinese mediums burn joss paper under the moonlight. Indian prayers blend with animist offerings. And in the shadows of the city, and the depths of the jungle, spirits thrive. Some are tied to ancient curses. Others to trauma. But all of them, every single one, is believed to walk alongside the living. And once you meet them, you might never walk alone again. There's no shortage of ghost stories in Malaysia, and when you think about it, the supernatural is as varied as the cultures that inhabit this land. Some spirits are bound to old traditions, others are shaped by pain or desperation. But sometimes, it's not even the obvious ones that'll get you. Take insects, for example. A tiny demonic creature that takes the form of an insect, usually a grasshopper or beetle. This is known as a pelesit, and it's not the type of ghost you'd expect. And yet, it's a force to be reckoned with. Controlled by a bomo, or shaman, the pelesit can possess someone, tormenting them with fevered madness. It's a sneaky, terrifying spirit that slinks into your body, making you lose control, like a parasite that controls a bug. The worst part? Once it's inside, there's no turning back. But not all spirits come crawling from the shadows like the pelesit. Some spirits claim homes, just like the one you just bought, and they own them. Mona Fandi's house, or as some locals call it, the aeroplane house, is a good example of one of these places. Once a pop singer, Mona Fande became infamous as a witch doctor who dabbled in black magic. In 1993, she and her husband, along with an accomplice, lured politician Dato Mazlan Idris to their home. He believed that they were going to do a spiritual ritual. But instead, the house became the scene of a horrific murder. The trio brutally slaughtered Maslin, hacking his body apart in a ritual that was said to summon supernatural forces. But the ritual never went as planned. Instead of power, it unleashed a curse, and the house became a prison of restless spirits. When authorities discovered the gruesome crime, they were left horrified by the bloodstains and eerie sensations that clung to the walls of the house. Mona Fanday, along with her accomplices, was arrested, and the chilling details of her dark magic came to light. She was executed in 2001, but the house remains a place of whispers and fear. Locals speak of strange occurrences, disembodied screams, flickering lights, and the haunting shadow of a figure that appears in the window. Some claim to hear footsteps at night, but no one is ever there. The unfinished airplane in the yard, once a symbol of ambition, now serves as a macabre reminder of the life taken within the house. So, after learning this, it's obvious that you decide to flee your house. You leave it behind. The knocking, the whispers, the frangipani. You need a place to stay. Somewhere clean, safe and normal. But you didn't find a new house yet, so you check into a hotel. But this is Malaysia. And your nightmare is just beginning. High above the clouds, in the misty hills of Hentang Highlands, there stands a building. A building with faded red bricks, dozens of balconies, towering high, but still forgotten. This is Amber Court Hotel. Once a luxury getaway, now a decaying shell of what it was, and one of Malaysia's most notoriously haunted places. Guests talk about the children. You'll hear them running down empty corridors, giggling behind locked doors. The elevators, they move by themselves, stopping on floors that no longer exist. Lights flicker in abandoned wings. One couple left in the middle of the night, after waking to something standing at the foot of their bed, a black figure with no face. They couldn't scream and couldn't move. They could only watch the black figure, as it stared back to them. Some locals believe the land was never meant for humans, that it belongs to the Orang Bunyan, the hidden people. And now, the hotel stands half alive, caught between two worlds. Okay, let's try another hotel. Option number 2, First World Hotel. This hotel shouldn't be too bad, it's colorful, great looking, and it's officially the largest hotel in the world. Over 7,000 rooms, lights, music, casinos and tourists everywhere. Until you step into the wrong place. Because what they don't see, is what lies beneath. Hidden rooms. Whole floors sealed off. Staff refuse to speak about them, but stories slip through. A Chinese medium once claimed that hundreds of spirits live here, bound by suicides, accidents, and rituals gone wrong. Guests talk about waking up with scratches. Hearing chanting in the walls. And in some rooms, a woman in white hanging upside down from the ceiling, watching as you sleep. You leave the hotel. Don't even think about checking out, you just leave. Maybe you drove through the night, maybe you called someone to pick you up. You don't talk about what happened. You barely sleep. But eventually, things start to feel more quiet. You tell yourself it's over. But in Malaysia, some ghosts don't stay behind. They follow. Have you ever seen yourself, when you weren't supposed to? Hantu Raya is a spirit that takes your shape. A powerful entity summoned through dark rituals and black magic deals with something far older than gods. It starts as a servant. It can work your job, show up at gatherings, even fool your family, but over time, it changes. It gets hungry. It begins to like being you. And if you don't keep feeding it, or worse, if you forget the rituals, it stops waiting for permission. Some say it will kill its master. Others say it becomes something else entirely. Something that walks free. With your face. The legends of Hantu Raya are deeply rooted in local folklore and have crossed into pop culture, echoing themes found in doppelganger myths, where a malicious duplicate takes on a person's form. The fear of an imposter living your life is primal, the loss of self, the invasion of something dark and foreign. In Malaysian culture, Hantu Raya is not just a ghost story but a warning against dabbling in dark forces. Though believed to still be summonable today through hidden rituals, Hantu Raya isn't to be taken lightly. Once invited into your life, it doesn't just mimic you, it seeks to become you, and if you're not careful, it might just take everything. Deep in the jungles, beyond where the GPS stops, there are trails that vanish. Villages that don't appear on any map. People say, don't look too long at the trees, they might be looking back. These are the lands of the Orang Bunyan, the hidden folk. They look human, and they live in golden cities. But you can only see them if they allow it. And sometimes, they take people. Not out of cruelty, but curiosity. In 2005, a boy vanished in Perak for 10 days. Search teams found nothing. When he reappeared, he was barefoot, clean and unhurt. He said he was taken to a palace. He wasn't hungry. He didn't feel time pass, and he still dreams of it every night. The Orang Bunyan are believed to live in hidden, ethereal realms, invisible unless they choose to reveal themselves. Legends tell of their golden cities and graceful beings, indistinguishable from humans. Their encounters with humans are rare but have been reported for centuries, such as the case of a Dutchman who vanished in the early 1900s and returned with a similar tale of a golden palace. Orang Bunyan lore is particularly prevalent in Malaysia's jungles, especially in Perak, Pahang, and Kelantan. Locals avoid these places, fearing the spirits may lead them astray or take them forever. Some say the Orang Bunyan are benevolent, helping lost souls, while others warn of their vengeful side. The boy's disappearance in 2005 adds to this long history, blurring the line between myth and reality. There's one ghost whose name still sends chills down the spines of Malaysians, and others across Southeast Asia. The Pontianak. She is a woman, dressed in white, with long, dark hair flowing down her back. Her presence is preceded by the sweet scent of frangipani, the flower associated with death. Her story begins with tragedy. Born from a woman who died during childbirth. The Pontianak returns as a spirit of vengeance. With a thirst for blood, she hunts the living, particularly those who remind her of the life she lost. Her scream is piercing, a sound that shatters glass and drives people to madness. But her legend isn't just rooted in the past. The Pontianak's origins are tied to an ancient belief in the balance of life and death, where disturbing the natural course of things, especially during childbirth, invokes her wrath. In some parts of Malaysia, people still take care to follow specific rituals and customs to avoid attracting her attention. Pregnant women, for example, are often cautioned to avoid certain behaviors or places where she might appear. She is more than a ghost. She is a reflection of societal fears, of the dangers and trauma surrounding the act of childbirth, and of the unresolved spirits that walk alongside the living. Her impact is felt today, as people still speak of her in hushed tones. You'll find her haunting quiet roads, construction sites, or unfinished buildings, waiting to strike, and sometimes, she's closer than you think. You're traveling now. Getting as far away from everything as you can. Somewhere rural, quiet and safe. A village offers to host you for the night. Simple house, warm people, nothing strange. At least, not at first. But around midnight, the sound begins. Music. Gentle and distant. The soft metallic notes of the gamelan floating through the air. Laughter. Plates clinking, just like a wedding, or maybe a celebration. When you step outside to have a look, there's nothing. Just jungle. The next night, it happens again. Louder. Closer. The villagers tell you, don't go into the woods. Don't follow the music. Don't look for the lights. But of course, someone always does. They call it the Hantu Jamuan. The party ghost. It's said that some spirits never let go of life's pleasures. They gather deep in the forest, throwing endless feasts, and if you hear them, it means they've noticed you. People speak of wandering into the jungle, drawn by drums and singing. They see tents, tables piled with food, dancers in clothes from another time. Everything feels just real enough. But if you sit down, if you take even a single bite, they own you. One urban explorer near Nedjeri Sembilan followed the music into the trees. He vanished for 3 days. When they found him, he was barefoot. His clothes were shredded, and he kept whispering, "They fed me, they danced around me." And he wouldn't eat for days. The strange thing is, after that, the house felt different. Quieter. No more shadows. No more nightmares. But sometimes, late at night, you still hear the music. And you wonder, did they let you leave? Or are you still there, dancing with them? The Hantu Jamuan is a spirit trapped in eternal celebration, luring people into its feasts with music and dancing. It's often linked to the gamelan music, which is traditionally used to summon spirits, but here it leads people into a trap. In some versions of the story, those who partake in the feast lose their identities and become part of the celebration forever. The Hantu Jamuan represents spirits that can't let go of earthly pleasures, and it's said that once you've heard the music, they've already claimed you. You didn't think it would happen again, right? Not after the party, not after the music. But now, you've stumbled into something even worse. An old theme park, overgrown and fenced off. The faded signs hang loosely from rusted poles. The colors are washed out, and the smell of mildew fills the air. Mimiland. Once Malaysia's first theme park, it opened in the 1970s, full of dreams. Rides and waterslides, a place for families to laugh and play. But over the years, some things went wrong. In 1993, a tragic accident occurred when a Singaporean tourist died after an incident involving a waterslide. Shortly after the accident, in early 1994, a landslide hit the area, causing significant damage to the park's infrastructure. The park was shut down in the 90s. But even now, the jungle creeps in, wrapping around its skeleton. The old slides still stand, silent. But sometimes, people hear something. Children's laughter. The sound of carousel music. Voices from the past. It's said that the land is cursed. Rituals to cleanse it were performed, but nothing worked. The spirits of those who died here, children, workers, still wander. And though Mimiland is abandoned, urban explorers can't resist. One explorer went in and didn't come out for 2 days. He returned, eyes wide, shaking. "I saw them," he whispered. "They're still waiting for the ride." There's something strange about these haunted places here. Mimiland, with its lost joy, and the towering First World Hotel, colorful, full of tourists, and yet, just as haunted. Both are built in the same area. They share the same mist, the same mountains. The past isn't buried, it's tangled. There's an old cable car that used to connect the theme park to First World. Today, obviously, the theme park is closed, but the hotel still stands, as if nothing is wrong. There are speculations that say that the energy of Mimiland bleeds into the hotel. Perhaps the same spirits who linger in the forgotten rides, now wander the hotel's colorful rooms. You've come so far. But the ghosts you've encountered, they've only been waiting. Now, the darker spirits reveal themselves. The ones that don't just follow. The ones that kill. The stories are disturbing. Not just because of what he does, but because of how. The Orang Minyak is a spirit bound to the dark arts. A spirit that takes the form of a man, but covered in thick black oil. The myth says it's the result of a pact made through black magic, an exchange that calls something vile to walk the earth. He comes for the virgins. And when he does, he's quick, and he's stealthy. His slick, oily body can slither across walls. He can slip into the cracks of your home, uninvited, silent and unseen. In 2016, a school in Kelantan made headlines after dozens of students, mostly girls, reported seeing a dark, humanoid figure lurking near the bathrooms and classrooms. Some collapsed, some screamed, and some entered trance-like states. Panic gripped the school, and classes were temporarily halted. As the incident spread, so did the footage. Videos of screaming students, interviews with terrified teachers, and blurry images of the black figure began circulating on social media, racking up thousands of shares. Some claimed it was mass hysteria. Others, particularly villagers and local shamans, insisted it was a supernatural disturbance, a jinn or even the return of an orang minyak. After all, the descriptions matched: a tall, black, shadow-like entity seen only by a few, always causing chaos in its wake. Just when you think you've escaped the clutches of the unseen, you realize, they're always with you. In Malaysia, as you've seen, the line between the living and the dead is so thin that some spirits don't just linger, they follow. Take the Saka, for instance. A curse passed down through generations, where a spirit resides within the body, offering both power and protection, but at a terrible cost. Some Malaysians claim they still feel its presence, as strange accidents or illnesses strike when the spirit is angered. Then, there's the Karak Highway, known for its tragic history of accidents and disappearances. Drivers speak of phantom vehicles that seem to overtake them, or figures standing by the roadside that vanish when looked at. One of the most chilling stories is that of a family who disappeared in the 1990s, their car found abandoned but no sign of where they went. Locals still avoid the highway at night, fearing the restless spirits of those lost along its winding path. And let's not forget the Highland Towers. After the building's collapse in 1993, claiming 48 lives, rumors spread about strange occurrences in the ruins. Those brave enough to explore the area say they hear whispers or catch glimpses of shadowy figures. Locals believe the spirits of those trapped inside still linger, unwilling to rest. These aren't just isolated stories. Here, ghostly folklore weaves into daily life. The pocong, the shrouded corpse that rises from the grave, still sends shivers down the spine of anyone who encounters it. And the jiangshi, the Chinese hopping vampire, is still whispered about in abandoned buildings. In the dense jungles, villagers still speak of the penangau, the floating head that hunts the night, trailing its organs in search of victims. These aren't just tales, they are warnings passed down, as real as the people who live among them. Over here, the spirits don't just haunt places, they haunt your mind. And there are many, many, many of them. So, next time you feel a chill on the back of your neck, or hear a weird voice behind you, perhaps it's not just your imagination. Because sometimes, folklore isn't just stories, it's history, it's trauma, and it's a part of everyday life. Tibet, a land of soaring mountains, ancient monasteries, and mysteries that ripple through its thin, crisp air. For centuries, this remote place has been a cradle of spiritual wisdom, and a stage for stories that blur the line between the living and the dead. Historically isolated by towering Himalayan peaks, Tibet's culture developed its own unique ways to confront the unseen. The harsh environment and deep spirituality gave rise to traditions where ghosts, spirits, and protective rituals became part of everyday life. Even the very architecture reflects this ancient wisdom. Traditional Tibetan houses have low doorways, forcing anyone who enters to bow slightly. This wasn't just a gesture of respect, it was a clever defense. According to belief, ghosts and wandering spirits, unable to bend forward, could not cross these thresholds, keeping homes safe from malevolent forces. Above the rooftops flutter bright prayer flags, their colorful squares inscribed with sacred mantras. These flags are more than decoration, they're believed to carry blessings on the wind, spreading peace and warding off negativity from the village below. Alongside these, families often place ghost traps known as nanka, intricate spindles wrapped with vibrant yarn, designed to capture and contain harmful spirits before they can cause harm. When darker forces arise, the furba comes into play. This ritual dagger, wielded by tantric practitioners, is said to pierce the suffering of evil spirits, liberating them and guiding them toward a better rebirth. It's a symbol of power and compassion, a tool used to restore balance between worlds. Each year, on the 29th day of the 12th Tibetan month, communities gather for Gyutar, a fiery cleansing ceremony where prayers and rituals chase away all negativity, evil spirits, and misfortunes of the past year. It's a time to start anew, purify the soul, and prepare for the peace and auspiciousness of the Tibetan New Year. In Tibet, the supernatural is never far. It breathes in the prayer flags, lingers in the mountain mists, and walks the narrow paths between this world and the next. Here, ghosts aren't just stories. They are a part of life itself. At the heart of Tibetan spiritual lore lies one of the world's most profound guides to death and the afterlife, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, or Bardo Thodol, meaning liberation through hearing during the intermediate state. This book was written centuries ago by the great master Padmasambhava. This ancient text serves as a spiritual manual for the moment between death and rebirth, a liminal phase Tibetans call the Bardo. Unlike many Western traditions that see death as a final boundary, Tibetan Buddhism views death as a transition, a journey of the consciousness through a series of spiritual realms. The Bardo Thodol is read aloud to the dying or recently deceased to help guide their soul through this bewildering, often terrifying passage. During the Bardo, the deceased confronts vivid and symbolic visions, terrifying wrathful deities, radiant Buddhas, and ghostly apparitions, manifestations of their own mind and karma. Without the right guidance, these experiences can trap the soul in confusion or fear, leading to a difficult rebirth or worse, lingering as a restless spirit. But with the Book of the Dead, the soul is given clues, a spiritual GPS to recognize illusion, transcend fear, and ultimately attain liberation. It describes 6 stages in the Bardo, each with its own challenges and spiritual opportunities. The text's vivid imagery is both a warning and a beacon of hope, reminding that death is not the end, but a doorway. Beyond its religious significance, the Bardo Thodol has fascinated mystics, scholars, and artists worldwide. Its descriptions of intermediate states resonate with modern explorations of near-death experiences and consciousness. In Tibet, the living do not fear death but prepare for it, honoring the Book of the Dead as a sacred guide to navigating the greatest mystery of all. In this land where mountains touch the heavens, the wisdom of the Bardo reminds us all, death is but a passage, and the journey continues beyond. Among Tibet's vast pantheon of spirits and deities, the Jelpa stand out as particularly fearsome and unpredictable entities. Known as the king spirits, the Jelpa are often depicted as powerful, sometimes malevolent beings who can cause chaos if not properly respected. These spirits are believed to be the souls of ancient kings, nobles, or powerful humans who, due to improper rituals or karmic debts, failed to transition peacefully into the afterlife. Instead, they linger in the Bardo, taking on wrathful forms to exact revenge or mischief on the living. Jelpa spirits are known to haunt remote mountain passes, ancient ruins, and even inhabited villages, places where their influence can bring misfortune, illness, or sudden disasters. Farmers might blame a failed crop on a Jelpa's curse, or travelers might avoid certain paths said to be claimed by these spectral kings. To keep the Jelpa at bay, Tibetans perform elaborate rituals involving prayers, offerings, and protective symbols. Monks might recite special mantras or invoke wrathful deities to subdue the Jelpa's influence. Households hang amulets or create sacred spaces to prevent these spirits from entering their lives. Interestingly, Jelpa spirits are also complex figures, sometimes mischievous tricksters rather than purely evil. In some tales, they test human resilience or humility, teaching lessons through their challenges. This duality reflects a core Tibetan belief: spirits, like people, embody the full spectrum of nature, capable of both harm and wisdom. Among the spirits that haunt Tibetan folklore, that Sen warriors are some of the most mysterious and formidable. These are believed to be the restless souls of ancient Tibetan soldiers, fierce warriors who perished in battle, their spirits bound to the earth by unresolved duty and honor. Legends say that Sen warriors roam the high mountain passes and forgotten battlefields, clad in ancient armor and wielding spectral weapons. Their presence is both a warning and a protection. While they can bring misfortune to the careless or disrespectful, they are also revered as guardians who watch over sacred sites and pilgrimage routes. In Tibetan villages near historic battlegrounds, locals tell tales of eerie sightings, flickering torchlights on moonless nights, the faint clang of armor, or the distant sound of war drums carried on the wind. Some believe these spirits protect travelers from bandits or natural dangers, acting as unseen sentinels in the vast, rugged landscape. The Sen warriors' restless nature reflects the Tibetan respect for the past and the belief that souls tied to unfinished business remain tethered to the physical world. Rituals are often performed to honor these warriors, offering prayers and food to help guide them toward peace. At the same time, these spirits embody the Tibetan ideal of courage and loyalty, qualities still deeply valued in the culture. They remind us that even in death, duty can persist, and the echoes of history continue to shape the present. In the high, haunted stillness of Tibet, where snow and silence rule the land, there are tales of the Rolang, the risen corpse. Unlike wandering ghosts, the Rolang is a body pulled back from death by dark sorcery, karmic corruption, or spiritual unrest. It moves like a puppet without strings, stiff, unbending, and horribly quiet. But it does not need to speak, it only needs to touch. One brush of its hand, they say, can paralyze, steal the soul, or even turn the victim into another Rolang. Some say these beings are raised by black magicians as spiritual weapons. Others believe they are souls so consumed by rage or unfinished vengeance that they drag their corpses back across the veil, unable, and maybe even unwilling to let go. They are said to haunt abandoned fields and mountain trails, driven not by hunger for flesh, but for life force, warmth, movement and breath. Monks may attempt to liberate these tortured souls through ritual and prayer, guiding them towards rebirth or rest. But most believe the Rolang cannot be saved, that whatever once lived within has been lost to suffering and shadow. To stop them, tantric practitioners wield the furba. Sacred chants and symbols may drive them away, but only if the ritual is done in time. In a land where death is a doorway, the Rolang stands as a grim warning. Not all who die find peace, and some return filled only with silence, sorrow, and the need to take. High in the Himalayas, where clouds cling to the mountains, there are many stories about dragons. These are not beasts of flame and greed, but sacred beings of air, water, and storm. In Tibetan folklore, the dragon is not a monster to be slain. It is a protector, a messenger, and a force of awakened power. Born from thunder, it rides the sky like a storm wrapped in silence. Its roar is the rumble of distant avalanches. Its breath brings rain to the valleys and visions to the meditating mind. These are the Druk, celestial dragons, symbols of primal energy and enlightened speech. Their images can be found a lot in the art of monasteries, painted on thankas, carved into temple doors, or embroidered into the robes of high lamas. But they are more than just decoration. It is said that the dragon lives within the awakened heart, sleeping and waiting. In deep meditation, a practitioner may hear one of these dragons, not as a voice, but as a sudden wind through the mind. Like a flash of clarity. Some people believe that great yogis can ride these dragons in visions, flying through the sky to hidden realms, receiving teachings that are not written in books, but burned into the soul. In the Bon tradition, which is older than Buddhism, dragons are guardians of the land. Each lake and peak may have its own dragon spirit, fierce, proud, and easily angered. To disrespect the land is to wake the wrath of a dragon. And yet, when honored, they bless the crops, heal the sick, and protect the village from unseen forces. In Tibet, the dragon is not a fantasy. It is a force. It is a teacher. It is the breath of the mountain itself. Tibet is full of haunted places, places that are filled with spiritual energy. One of these places is the ancient Sami monastery. This place sits surrounded by legends. It was here that Padmasambhava, the tantric master and writer of the Book of the Dead, is said to have subdued demons and bound them beneath the earth. But locals say some still wander the halls, unseen, but felt in sudden chills and whispered prayers. Another famous place that is said to be haunted is the Yumbilagang Palace, Tibet's oldest fortress. Here it is said that shadows move when no one is near. Visitors speak of royal ghosts watching silently from broken windows, like guardians of lost dynasties. But the most sacred and terrifying place is Mount Kailash, a mountain revered as the axis of the world, home to gods and demons alike. Pilgrims report strange visions, glowing lights, and voices carried on the wind. Some say the dead walk here freely, crossing between realms with each circuit around the holy peak. NASA satellite observations discovered Mount Kailash sends out an uncommon electromagnetic energy wave. Experts disagree about what causes the unusual energy field at the mountain because they cannot properly explain the phenomenon either through mineral composition or hidden energy forces. Studies of Mount Kailash guests reveal several reports about time functioning differently in the vicinity. Multiple visitors experienced their hair and nails growing at an abnormally rapid pace while housing at the location. In Tibetan lore, the Yidak, the hungry ghosts, are souls trapped by endless desire. With tiny mouths and bloated bellies, they suffer eternal hunger and thirst. If you have seen my other videos, you might already know about these creatures, as they are well known throughout Asia. In Japan they are called gaki, or in India they are called pretas. During the Tibetan New Year and other festivals, families leave offerings of food and incense, hoping to ease their torment and protect the living from their unrest. Yet, some souls linger, haunting lonely trails, abandoned villages, and mountain shrines, driven by revenge, forgiveness, or the need for final release. Tibet's ghosts are more than malevolent phantoms, they are teachers, protectors, and warnings. To respect the spirits and honor ancient rituals is to invite their guardianship. To ignore them, break taboos, or disrespect the sacred is to risk far more than just misfortune. In this land of fierce winds and endless skies, where monasteries perch like eagles' nests and the dead are carried in sacred funerals across mountaintops, the ghosts of Tibet walk silently beside us, ever reminding us of the fragile boundary between life and the vast unknown beyond. Most people think they know Japan. Torii gates, cherry blossoms, and neon cities. But drifting far beneath the Japanese mainland, surrounded by coral seas and war-torn cliffs, lies a place Japan never fully claimed. Okinawa is different. Here, the gods live in trees, and the dead call from the caves. And the elderly women here still give warnings, warnings that no one dares to write down. This is no fairy tale. This is the truth beneath the surface. Okinawa remembers what the world has forgotten, because what happened here never really ended. It waits in the quiet, and it hides in plain sight. And the more you try to understand it, the more it draws you in. Before we dive deeper into the forgotten corners of Okinawa, make sure to subscribe to explore more of the mysterious world that lies beneath the surface. From ancient spirits to untold stories, we'll uncover them together, one chapter at a time. Long before modern roads and airports connected Okinawa to the world, before the war shattered its peace, the island was home to another kind of history. The people of Okinawa believed the world was not simply inhabited, but alive. Every stone, every mountain, and every tree held its own spirit. A sacred world where the divine isn't above, but within. This was the Ryukyu Kingdom, a realm whose spiritual practices were rooted in a deep connection to nature. In the forests, along the coasts, and within the very air, gods were not distant figures, they were neighbors, close enough to listen to, and to fear. Here, the divine is not distant, it is among us. Okinawa's ancient belief system is based on animism. The gods, known as kami, dwell in places that mainlanders might overlook, the quiet corners of the earth, the shade of trees, and the depths of caves. These sacred spaces are called ataki, places not marked by gates or bells, but by the quiet power of nature and the spirits that inhabit it. These are not religious sites in the way most would understand, they are living, breathing spaces of power, where the land itself carries the weight of divine memory. In every home, the fire is watched over by Hinukan, the fire god. He resides in the fireplace, quiet and ever-present. A guardian of warmth and comfort. Unlike the distant gods of temples, Hinukan is not a god you worship from afar. He is a presence you must respect. When a family leaves its home, they bow to the fireplace, thanking Hinukan for his protection. Because if you do not, Hinukan may follow. He may not remain in the fireplace. These spirits don't ask permission to be remembered, they demand it. And yet, Hinukan is not alone. Among the people, there is a belief in Mabui, the soul. A person's Mabui is the very essence of who they are. It is fragile, easily lost to shock, fear, or trauma. The loss of one's Mabui is said to cause a person to fade, to lose their sense of self. In these moments, the people call upon shamans, or Yuta, to restore the soul. Through rituals passed down for generations, they bring the Mabui back, sometimes with a simple prayer, other times with complex rites and offerings. Though Okinawa has modernized, the echoes of these old beliefs remain. It's not unusual to see families honoring Hinukan, or the Yuta's rituals quietly interwoven with the busy pace of city life. The invisible world is fragile, and their connection to it must be handled with respect. Alongside them are the Noro, female priestesses with a power that goes beyond ceremony. Chosen by bloodline, they are said to be the living voice of the gods, performing rites to heal the land and its people. When disaster strikes or the earth grows restless, it is the Noro who call upon divine strength. Historically, the role of the Yuta was crucial in times of war. During the Battle of Okinawa in 1945, many Yuta were called upon to perform rituals to appease the spirits of the dead, as the island became a battleground for soldiers and civilians alike. Both the Yuta and Noro carry a heavy burden, knowing that the spirits they invoke never truly leave. Their work is unending, and the price of their power is often unseen. Some spirits do not hide in the shadows. They wear masks, they dance, and they demand attention. The Akamata and Kuromata are two of the most infamous. These spirits appear as ritual mask figures, one red, and one black. They are protectors and punishers. When they appear in festivals, their role is simple: keep the evil at bay. But these are not just costumes. They are living spirits, embodying ancient power. Their masks hide faces that no mortal should see. To glimpse beneath them is to risk death itself. In the presence of the Akamata and Kuromata, the boundary between human and spirit blurs. The air grows thick, charged with something beyond the physical world. And it's not just human-shaped spirits that roam Okinawa. Objects, too, can be haunted. Cursed gifts pass from hand to hand, carrying with them the weight of tragedy and misfortune. A doll given in love might suddenly become a vessel for sorrow, or a piece of jewelry that once belonged to a tragic soul could twist its owner's fate into disaster. In Okinawa, no object is too small to carry a memory, and no gift is free from the potential to be cursed. Among the most feared is the Ikijama, a curse unique to Okinawa, tied to a tradition of dark inheritance. It is a type of Ikiryo, a living spirit summoned by a woman from a bloodline said to carry forbidden magic. The ritual centers around a doll called the Ikijama Butoki, boiled while chanting the body part to be targeted. Soon after, a spirit double of the caster appears at the victim's door, offering a simple gift: bananas, garlic, or wild herbs. Accepting it is a fatal mistake. The named body part mysteriously falls ill, and without intervention by a skilled Yuta, the victim may never recover. Some spirits are born of belief, and others are born of blood. In 1945, Okinawa became a blood-soaked battlefield. Tens of thousands of lives were lost, soldiers, civilians, and families caught between two worlds at war. The Battle of Okinawa was one of the deadliest of the Pacific Campaign, and its impact is still felt today. Many Okinawans, fearing capture or torture, took their own lives rather than surrender. Entire families, huddled together in caves, chose death over what they believed would be worse, torture at the hands of enemy forces. These were not just soldiers. These were mothers, fathers, children, the innocent who perished with no hope of peace. And they did not leave. The spirits of the dead roam the roads of Okinawa to this day. They are the lost souls of war, trapped in a cycle of grief and confusion. They wander the island at night, searching for something that was taken from them. Sometimes, they call out to strangers, asking for water, for help, for mercy. Other times, they remain silent, their presence only known by the feeling of cold in the air. In this video, one of these ghosts can be seen roaming through an old barracks. Whether it's real or not hasn't been proven, but the footage, combined with the horror stories, makes for a chilling experience. Among the spirits of the dead are the Ubum, the restless spirits of mothers who died in childbirth or while caring for their children. These mothers, who never had the chance to fulfill their role in life, now roam Okinawa in search of their lost children. Their cries can be heard in the rain, their voices filled with the sorrow of their unfinished lives. The war did not end in 1945. It lingers in the soil, in the memories, in the bones of the land. The spirits that haunt Okinawa today are not the stuff of legends, they are the souls of the innocent and the forgotten, and their stories are still unfolding. To this day, human remains are still found in the limestone caves where families hid. Local volunteers, some descendants of survivors, continue to recover bones, quietly returning the unnamed dead to rest. Some caves remain sealed off, not by official order, but by spiritual fear. And even now, construction crews sometimes halt work when they strike relics, helmets, diaries, or children's shoes. Deep within Okinawa's banyan groves live the Kijimuna, red-haired forest spirits known for their mischief and unpredictable moods. Small and childlike, they dwell in Kijimura trees, which are considered sacred. Disturb one of these trees, and it's said a Kijimuna may follow you home, bringing bad luck that no priest can cleanse. Fishermen once feared and revered them. A Kijimuna might ride your shoulder and bless your catch, but if offended, it could sink your boat without warning. Even something as small as a poorly timed joke or a bodily sound could end a friendship. Stories of Kijimuna sightings persisted well into the 20th century, and some families still leave small offerings beneath the banyan trees, just in case. They are neither gods nor ghosts. But in a land where the line between myth and memory blurs, the Kijimuna are very real. Okinawa's land is haunted not just by spirits, but by memories. And some places, despite the passage of time, have refused to be forgotten. Perched high above Okinawa's East China Sea, the Nakagusuku Hotel ruins are a reminder of a dream never realized. Construction began in the 1970s with grand ambitions of creating a luxury resort to attract elite guests, boasting spectacular ocean views and top-tier amenities. But from the start, the project was plagued with issues. Workers reported strange accidents, machinery failures, unexplained injuries, and illness. Some workers even vanished under mysterious circumstances. Rumors quickly spread that the hotel was cursed, with locals claiming that the spirits of the land were disturbed by the project's construction. In Okinawa, sacred sites known as Utaki, where the gods reside, are often found in nature, and many believe this hotel was built on such land, angering the ancient spirits. Despite the vast resources poured into the project, construction ceased abruptly, and the hotel was abandoned before it could open its doors. Over the years, the site has become a place of mystery, with eerie phenomena reported by those who dare to visit. In 2017, local historians and paranormal investigators documented strange electromagnetic fluctuations at the site, which further fueled rumors of the hotel's curse. The hotel has been demolished in 2020, but its story and strange legacy continue to capture the imagination. The Himuri Monument, which translates to Lily in Japanese, honors the Himuri Corps, a group of about 240 high school girls who were recruited as nurses during the Battle of Okinawa in 1945. The girls, barely older than children, worked in the caves, tending to the wounded soldiers during the brutal battle. As the situation worsened, they were trapped in the caves, and many chose to end their lives rather than be captured. Visitors to the Himuri caves often report hearing faint cries, and feeling weird energies, as if the spirits of these girls are still present. Some say the echoes of their sacrifices linger, forever bound to the caves where they died. The Himuri Monument, made in 1975, stands as a testament to their bravery and the horrors they faced. The monument, with its poignant symbolism, reminds us of the young girls who became unwilling symbols of wartime sacrifice. Tsunabi Baba Park is a small, quiet park located near the sea, but it is far from peaceful when the sun sets. Locals often avoid this place after dark, not because of its peaceful surroundings, but because of the eerie phenomena associated with it. The park is said to be haunted by the spirits of children, and visitors have reported hearing the sound of laughter and playing children in the dead of night, though no children are ever seen. One of the more unsettling stories about the park is that it was once the site of an ancient burial ground, and that the restless spirits of the dead remain there, seeking solace. Some even believe the spirits of these children may not be entirely innocent. They are sometimes associated with mischievous, trickster-like energy, much like the Kijimuna, the mischievous tree spirits of Okinawa. Tsunabi Baba Park is an area that feels oddly charged with presence, as if the land holds on to memories, refusing to let go of its past. In Okinawa, the line between the living and the dead is thinner than most realize. The ghosts of war, the spirits of nature, the protectors, and the tricksters, are all said to still watch over this land. And even today, amidst the modern world, the old ways persist. They shape lives in ways we may never fully understand, but feel in the quiet moments when we least expect it. So next time you step onto Okinawa's soil, whether it's the bustling streets of Naha or the quiet, untouched shores, remember that what you see is only part of the story. In 2016, a group of about 20 girls at a government high school began exhibiting strange behavior. The girls, all students at the school in Shanyi-kyo village, displayed physical and mental symptoms. They were exhausted, felt chills in their limbs, and many of them seemed to have lost control of their mind, shouting and making other unusual noises. Their behavior persisted for weeks. The government sent psychologists and psychiatrists to the school to investigate, and they diagnosed the girls as suffering from mass hysteria and prescribed medication. But parents of the hundreds of students at the school believed there was another reason for the behavior: possession by evil spirits. They suspected that spirits possessed the girls because they were angry about an expansion project at the school last year that resulted in classrooms being built on a former cemetery. The ghosts of the dead wanted revenge for having been disturbed. They were so concerned that the region chief minister, Yuman Jani, got involved. He visited the school on October the 25th and ordered the evil spirits to leave. His guards then fired guns into the air to frighten them away. However, the girls showed no improvement, and the parents at the school became increasingly worried. At this point, Yu Kin Nan, a member of the well-known ghost-busting Shuin Kyo sect, read about the girls' plight on Facebook. He knew his skills as an exorcist were needed. He spent 3 days in the village, communicating and negotiating with the evil spirits. Whether through his efforts, or those of the mental health specialists sent by the government, or a combination of both, the girls' behavior returned to normal. But Kin then has no doubt it was his efforts that succeeded in exorcising the evil spirits. Although the Shuin Kyo sect is controversial among disbelievers, superstition and belief in the supernatural is widespread in Myanmar. In many parts of the country, when people suspect that malevolent spirits are active, the first person they call is a member of the Shuin Kyo sect to arrange an exorcism. In Myanmar, shadows are not just the absence of light. They are the echoes of spirits walking alongside the living. Here, the ancient temples are more than relics, they are gateways to a world where ghosts linger, restless and watchful. The dense jungles hum with unseen presences. The rivers murmur ancient secrets, and the night carries whispers of souls that refuse to rest. This is a land where superstition blends with reality. Where every flicker of a candle, every sudden chill, is a sign from beyond. From rural villages to urban sprawl, the unseen world shapes daily life, and the spirits of the past shape the present. Welcome to Myanmar, a haunted land like no other. Myanmar, formerly known as Burma, is a land steeped in history, once the center of powerful kingdoms like Pagan and later a British colony before gaining independence in 1948. Its complex past is woven tightly into the beliefs of its people. Buddhism is deeply integrated into everyday life here, guiding morals, rituals, and community. But alongside Buddhism thrives a rich tapestry of animist beliefs and folk superstitions that date back centuries, long before colonial times. These ancient traditions shape a spiritual landscape where humans, spirits, and the natural world are inseparable. Villagers frequently seek the guidance of local shamans called Nat Kadas, mediums who communicate with the Nats, spirits that encompass everything from nature and ancestors to legendary historical figures. These Nats hold immense influence, capable of bestowing fortune or misfortune, and so offerings and shrines dedicated to them are common sights. Houses are carefully built with respect to these spirits, and vibrant festivals like the annual Tongbayon Nat Festival bring the community together through dance, music, and sacrifice to honor and appease them. But not all spirits are friendly. Myanmar's folklore warns of restless and malevolent beings who roam the shadows at night, ghosts seeking revenge, protectors of sacred land, or cunning tricksters who revel in chaos and mischief. In this land, the boundary between the physical and spirit worlds is fluid, and respect for the unseen is woven into daily existence. In the shadows of Myanmar's quiet villages and bustling towns, one ghostly figure inspires a fear unlike any other, Ma Fei Wa, the dread guardian of cemeteries. She is said to roam the night, carrying a heavy wooden coffin on her shoulder, moving silently between houses and dark alleys. Her purpose is chillingly clear: she seeks those whose time has come, delivering an unspoken warning of death soon to strike. To see Ma Fei Wa's slender silhouette against the moonlight is considered an omen so dreadful that families tremble at the mere thought. Local lore warns that if she places her coffin at your doorstep, it means death is imminent for someone within your household. This terrifying superstition has led to a widespread practice of placing cryptic signs outside homes, scrawled with baffling phrases such as, "Baby's flesh is bitter, dog's flesh is sweet." These strange messages serve as traps for her spirit, confusing her and dissuading her from lingering. The fear of Ma Fei Wa runs so deep that it shapes how people behave when encountering her apparition. Folklore advises that running or screaming will only provoke her wrath. Instead, one must remain calm, quiet, and respectful. To appease her, offerings are left, usually bowls of rice, cooked meat, or traditional Burmese sweets, rituals meant to honor her and keep her satisfied. Ignoring these customs, locals say, risks inviting misfortune, illness, or even death. The legend of Ma Fei Wa reveals more than just a ghost story. It echoes Myanmar's complex relationship with death and the afterlife, where spirits are not only feared but deeply respected. In a country where funerary rites are sacred, and ancestral spirits are believed to watch over families, Ma Fei Wa stands as a grim reminder: death is always close, always watching, and must be acknowledged with reverence. Yushin Jai is one of Myanmar's most powerful and enigmatic Nats, deeply tied to the wild landscapes of the Ayeyarwady Delta. He is often depicted alongside a fierce tiger and a lurking crocodile, symbolizing his command over the jungle and waterways. According to legend, while on an expedition to find food, Yushin Jai and his fellow lumberjacks reached Myanmar Island. His harp playing entranced two Nat sisters who refused to let the boat leave until they were appeased. In a final act of sacrifice, Yushin Jai allowed himself to drown, pleasing the spirits and becoming a Nat himself. Each year in March, a festival is held in his honor, drawing pilgrims who seek his protection. Though he is venerated, Yushin Jai's spirit is not without danger. Villagers warn that his ghost roams the misty mangroves, his haunting harp music drifting through the night air. Those who follow the melody risk being drawn deep into the delta's labyrinthine rivers, never to return. Shamans and Nat Kadas conduct rituals to appease him, hoping to keep his protective power and avoid his wrath. Yushin Jai's story embodies the delicate balance of Myanmar's spiritual world, where the line between guardian and punisher is razor thin, and respect for nature's spirits is a matter of survival. In the heart of Yangon, beneath the bustle of modern life, stands the Strand Hotel, a stately relic from Myanmar's colonial past, where time seems to have frozen, and ghosts roam the grand halls. Built in 1901, the Strand was once the jewel of British Burma, a place where colonial officers and wealthy travelers gathered to escape the tropical heat. But behind its elegant facade and polished woodwork lurks a darker tale, one marked by loss, despair, and lingering spirits. Staff and guests alike tell stories of eerie footsteps echoing in empty corridors, cold drafts that defy the tropical heat, and shadowy figures glimpsed from the corner of the eye. Some claim to have seen a ghostly British officer, still dressed in his colonial uniform, silently pacing the verandas, as if waiting for a long-lost order. Others speak of a woman in white, drifting silently through the ballrooms, her presence felt but never fully seen. Whispers of tragic romances, untimely deaths, and secrets buried beneath the hotel's foundation swirl around these spectral sightings. Legend says the hotel served as a refuge during turbulent times, including World War II, when battles and betrayals left scars not just on the land, but on the spirits trapped within its walls. Some believe that restless souls of those who perished here remain, unable to move on. One chilling account comes from a former bellboy, who described waking in the night to find his room flooded with a sudden coldness, then hearing the faint strains of an old piano playing, even though the hotel's grand piano had been silent for decades. The Strand is more than a hotel, it's a haunted echo of Myanmar's colonial history, where luxury and terror intertwine. Visitors come for its grandeur, but many leave with stories of unexplained shadows and a feeling that, in this place, the past never truly dies. Hidden deep within the misty jungles and mountain caves of Myanmar, far from temples and village shrines, are the secret lairs of the Waisa, mystic hermits said to have transcended death. To most outsiders, they are the stuff of legend. But for many in Myanmar, the Waisa are very real, reclusive sorcerers who have mastered powerful esoteric practices, astral travel, alchemy, divination, and even immortality. They are believed to exist in a parallel realm, able to enter and leave the human world at will. The word Waisa comes from the Pali Vija, meaning knowledge. But this is no ordinary wisdom, it is secret knowledge, often passed in whispers, guarded by oaths, and written in arcane scripts locked away in ancient monasteries. The Waisa pursue a supernatural path that splits from traditional Buddhism, seeking eternal life not through reincarnation, but through hidden rituals and disciplines learned from spirit teachers and non-human entities. Locals claim some Waisa live for hundreds of years, appearing young while hiding in plain sight. Others vanish into forests, returning only when their powers are needed. They are feared as much as they are revered. While many are seen as protectors or healers, some have fallen into shadow, corrupted by power, known to strike down enemies with curses, or control others through talismans and charms. In remote areas, children are still warned not to stray too far into the forest, lest they cross into a place watched over by a Waisa, an invisible eye in the trees, a voice in the wind, an unexplained illness that lingers. Some monks and scholars refuse to speak of them at all. Their followers still leave offerings of betel nut, candles, and coins at sacred banyan trees or old forest shrines, hoping to gain a favor, a vision, or protection. But there is always a warning. If you ask something from a Wisa, you must be prepared to give something in return. In Myanmar, not all spirits are vengeful. Some are worshipped, revered, even feared, not for their cruelty, but for their power. They are called nats, supernatural beings that exist alongside Buddhism, shaping the fates of the living. The word nat may sound gentle, but its origins are anything but. The most sacred are the 37 great nats, officially recognized by King Anuruddha in the 11th century when he sought to unify a diverse spiritual landscape under Theravada Buddhism. But to control the spirits, he had to honor them, creating shrines, festivals, and an official pantheon. What binds most of these 37 together is a disturbing truth. They were once human. And they died violently. Beheadings, betrayals, burnings, falls from power. These deaths were often unjust, and in Burmese cosmology, an unjust death does not simply end a life, it transforms it. These spirits, full of unresolved rage or loyalty, became semi-divine forces, capable of granting favors, punishing disrespect, or haunting the careless. Each nat has their own backstory, rituals, and personality. Some demand offerings of alcohol and meat. Others prefer incense and songs. To this day, in rural villages and bustling cities alike, nat shrines stand beside Buddha images, a silent acknowledgement that faith in Myanmar isn't one thing. It is many, layered, sacred, and deeply haunted. One of the most haunting and tragic spirits said to roam Myanmar is the ghost known as Pana Naya, often called the White Lady. Her story is woven into the misty banks of the mighty Irrawaddy River, where fishermen whisper her name with dread. According to legend, Pana Naya was once a beautiful woman deeply in love, but betrayed by the very man she trusted most. Overcome with sorrow and heartbreak, she threw herself into the river, her life ending in the cold, dark currents. But her spirit did not find peace. Locals say that on moonless nights, when the river is still and silent, Pana Naya appears near the water's edge, dressed in a flowing white garment, her face pale and haunting. Her mournful singing drifts through the night air, a siren's call meant to lure unsuspecting fishermen from their boats. Those who hear her song and follow it risk never returning. The White Lady's ghost is said to weave an invisible web beneath the water's surface, pulling her victims down into the depths, drowning them in the same river that claimed her life. Fishermen tell of ghostly shapes in their nets, cold hands brushing against their ankles, and the eerie echo of a woman's lament carried on the wind. To this day, many refuse to fish after dark near her haunts, fearing the wrath of Pana Naya and the fate that befell so many before them. Ten years after the brutal military crackdown of 1988, where hundreds of protesters were killed near Myanmar Junction, a new kind of unrest began to rise. But this time, it wasn't political. It was paranormal. In the sweltering heat of June, residents in the bustling Myanmar neighborhood began whispering about something strange. Televisions in nearby electronics shops had reportedly exploded, some say they oozed blood. A child claimed the water from their tap turned red. Others saw ghostly figures in shop windows, or felt an overwhelming sense of dread passing through the junction. What started as rumor quickly spiraled into hysteria. Crowds began to form at the site, hoping, some dreading, to witness something supernatural. The gatherings grew so large and tense that local authorities were forced to intervene, dispersing people late into the night. To many, this was more than folklore. They believed the ghosts of 1988 had returned, restless, vengeful, and angry that the world had moved on. There were no viral videos in 1998. No smartphones. But eyewitness accounts spread fast, from tea shops to crowded buses to clandestine leaflets passed hand to hand. Even respected Burmese writers, like those behind Old Burma Hand, documented the eerie mass panic and the unsettling synchronicity. These sightings happened exactly 10 years after the bloodshed. And then, just as suddenly as it began, it stopped. No official explanation. No arrests. No follow-up. Only silence, and the lingering suspicion that in Myanmar, the dead were not done speaking. In Myanmar, the boundary between the living and the dead is thin and fragile. Spirits linger in every shadow. These aren't just tales, they are living warnings from a world beyond our own. The unseen forces here shape reality, demanding respect and caution. In this haunted land, the past never dies, and the spirits never rest. I want to thank our members and subscribers for supporting the channel. Also, if you have any suggestions for the next country in our ghost tour, please let me know in the comments. See you next time.